I still remember the exact moment when everything in my life changed. It was a Tuesday evening in late October, the kind where autumn's chill had finally settled in for good. The trees outside my apartment window had shed most of their leaves, creating a carpet of crimson and gold on the sidewalk below. I had just moved to Millfield 3 weeks prior, a small university town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, the kind of place where everyone seems to know everyone except for newcomers like me. The town itself had a peculiar charm. Victorian houses with gingerbread trim lined the main streets, their facades meticulously maintained to preserve the historical aesthetic. The downtown area consisted of a handful of locally owned shops, a small movie theater that showed indie films on weekends, and several cafes where students gathered to study. It was picturesque in that small-town America way, the kind of place featured in travel magazines under headlines like Hidden Gems of New England. I'd moved there for graduate school, eager to escape the chaos of Boston where I'd spent my undergraduate years. My program in historical architecture seemed perfectly suited to Millfield, with its abundance of preserved 19th-century buildings. When I found the room listing online, spacious bedroom in historic Victorian, walking distance to campus, it had seemed like fate. My roommate Eliza had greeted me warmly that first day, helping me carry my boxes up the narrow staircase. She was tall and willowy with auburn hair that fell in natural waves past her shoulders. There was something timeless about her appearance. She could have stepped out of any era from the 1920s to the present day. She'd grown up in Millfield, she told me, and her family had owned this house for generations. The East Wing was added in 1902, she'd explained as she gave me the tour. My great-grandfather was quite successful in the textile industry and wanted to expand. The original structure dates back to 1897. On this particular evening, Eliza and I were sprawled across her bed, surrounded by empty takeout containers and the soft glow of her laptop as we binged our way through another true crime documentary. The blue light cast eerie shadows across her vintage-decorated room, filled with thrift store finds and family heirlooms that gave the space a timeless quality. "I'm telling you, Mia," Eliza said, gesturing with her chopsticks, "there's no way I could sleep in a house where someone was murdered. I'd feel their presence constantly, watching me, judging my life choices." I laughed, reaching for the last spring roll. "You literally sleep 10 feet from where your great-grandmother died. This house has been in your family for generations. That's different. She was 92 and died peacefully in her sleep. Besides, Nana Josephine was lovely. If she's haunting me, she's probably just making sure I eat enough and judging my taste in men." The documentary droned on about a series of disappearances in the 1970s, but my attention drifted to the strange scratching sound coming from somewhere inside the wall behind us. It had started a few days ago, faint at first, easy to dismiss as the old Victorian house settling or pipes expanding. But tonight it seemed more deliberate, more purposeful. Like fingernails dragging slowly across the inside of the plaster. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, setting down my plate. Eliza paused the show, tilting her head. "Hear what?" The scratching stopped immediately, as if whatever was making it knew we were listening. "Nothing, I guess. Just the house being creepy as usual." I tried to laugh it off, but something cold had settled in the pit of my stomach. We finished the documentary and said our goodnights around 1 a.m. Back in my room, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me. My bedroom was at the end of the hall in what used to be a nursery when the house was built in 1897. The landlord, Eliza's uncle, had mentioned something about the original owners losing a child to scarlet fever, but I'd brushed it off as just another sad story from a time when children often didn't survive to adulthood. The room itself was beautiful in a melancholy way, high ceilings with ornate molding, a bay window that looked out over the garden, and built-in bookshelves flanking an antique fireplace that had long since been sealed. But something about it never felt quite right. The air seemed heavier here than in the rest of the house, and no matter how many lamps I turned on, the corners remained stubbornly dark. I'd decorated it with my own belongings, photographs from home, books stacked on every available surface, fairy lights strung around the window frame to combat the perpetual gloom. My desk sat beneath the window, where I spent hours studying architectural drawings and writing papers on the evolution of New England home design. It should have felt like mine by now, but it didn't. It felt like I was merely borrowing the space from someone, or something, else. I was almost asleep when I heard it again, scratch, 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 this time from inside my closet. My eyes flew open, heart hammering against my ribs. The sound was unmistakable now, deliberate and rhythmic. "Hello?" I called out, immediately feeling foolish. What was I expecting, for the wall to answer me? The scratching stopped. Then, so faintly I almost missed it, "Hello." I bolted upright, fumbling for the lamp on my nightstand. The light flooded the room, revealing nothing out of place. The closet door remained firmly shut, just as I'd left it. I stared at it, frozen, afraid to move closer but equally afraid to stay in bed. "Eliza?" I called out, hoping she was playing some elaborate prank. But I knew she wasn't. Her snoring was audible from down the hall, and our third roommate, Marcus, was away visiting his parents for the weekend. With trembling legs, I forced myself to cross the room. My hand hovered over the closet doorknob for what felt like an eternity before I finally gathered the courage to yank it open. Empty. Just my clothes hanging neatly, shoes lined up below. I pushed the hangers aside, checking every corner, even knocking on the back wall. Solid. No hidden passages, no sign that anything unusual had been there. I closed the closet door and leaned my forehead against it, trying to calm my racing heart. Maybe I was just overtired. Graduate school was more demanding than I'd anticipated, and I'd been staying up late most nights to finish assignments. Sleep deprivation could cause hallucinations, couldn't it? But as I turned back toward my bed, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. On the antique mirror above my dresser, visible in the lamplight, was what appeared to be a child's handprint, small, with delicate fingers, pressed against the glass from the inside. I approached it slowly, telling myself it was just a smudge, just dust I hadn't noticed before. But as I got closer, I could see the perfect outline of tiny fingers, the slight impression of a palm. I reached out to touch it, and the glass beneath my fingertips was ice cold. The handprint vanished as soon as I touched it, like frost melting under the sun. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. By the third night, exhaustion won out, and I collapsed into a fitful sleep filled with dreams of small hands reaching through the walls, trying to touch my face. In my dreams, the walls were soft and pliable, like skin stretched over a frame. They pulsed with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. I dreamed of a little girl with hollow eyes and pale skin, wearing a white nightgown stained with soot. She stood in the corner of my room, watching me sleep. "Help me," she whispered. "I can't breathe. The smoke is everywhere." I woke gasping for air, my lungs burning as if I'd inhaled smoke. But the room was clear, the air clean and cold. The following morning, I found Eliza in the kitchen, brewing coffee. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass window above the sink, casting colorful patterns across the worn wooden countertops. "You look like hell," she said, sliding a mug toward me. "Rough night?" "Thanks. I haven't been sleeping well." I hesitated, then added, "Have you ever heard anything weird in the walls? Like, scratching? Or voices?" Eliza's expression shifted subtly. Something flickered behind her eyes. Recognition? Fear? "No." "Why?" "No reason. Just the house being old, I guess. Probably mice or something." I took a sip of coffee, trying to appear casual. But as I turned away, I caught her exchanging a look with Marcus, who had just entered the kitchen, back early from his trip. It was quick, but unmistakable, concern mixed with something else. "Knowledge?" "What?" I asked, looking between them. "Nothing," Marcus said too quickly. Old houses make all kinds of noises. You get used to it. But I noticed he wouldn't meet my eyes, and Eliza suddenly became very interested in washing dishes that were already clean. Marcus was different from Eliza and me. He wasn't a student but worked as a groundskeeper for the university. He was older, maybe in his early 30s, with calloused hands and a quiet demeanor. He'd moved in 6 months before I had, taking the small bedroom at the opposite end of the hall from mine. I didn't know much about him except that he was a friend of Eliza's family and that he kept to himself most of the time. "Did you have a good visit with your parents?" I asked, trying to change the subject. "I didn't go," he said, pouring himself coffee. "Change of plans." I frowned. "But I thought." "I stayed with a friend instead," he interrupted, not elaborating further. Another lie. I'd heard him tell Eliza he was going to his parents' place in Vermont. Why would he lie about something so trivial? That day at the library, I couldn't focus on my research. The image of the handprint on my mirror kept intruding on my thoughts. During my lunch break, I found myself searching online for information about the history of my house instead of working on my thesis. Most of what I found was mundane: property records, tax assessments, mentions in local historical society newsletters. But then I stumbled upon a digitized newspaper article from 1898 with the headline, "Tragic Fire Claims Child's Life." The address listed was mine. According to the article, 7-year-old Elizabeth Caldwell had perished when a fire broke out in the nursery. Her parents had been hosting a dinner party downstairs and didn't notice the smoke until it was too late. The cause of the fire was never determined, though there was speculation about a candle left burning near the curtains. Elizabeth. Eliza. The similarity in name sent a chill down my spine. That evening, I came home from my shift at the campus library to find a small, antique teddy bear sitting on my bed. One eye was missing, and its stuffing poked through worn seams. Its remaining button eye seemed to follow me as I moved around the room. The fur was matted in places, darker in others, as if it had been stained long ago. "Did one of you leave this?" I asked, carrying it into the living room where Eliza and Marcus were watching TV. They both shook their heads, exchanging another one of those looks. "Maybe it was already in your room?" Marcus suggested, his voice carefully neutral. "This place came with all kinds of junk in the attic and basement. Eliza's family never throws anything away." "It wasn't there this morning," I insisted, an icy feeling spreading through my chest. "I made my bed before leaving for class. This was placed there deliberately." "Maybe you just didn't notice it before," Eliza said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Or maybe Uncle Richard left it. He stops by sometimes when we're out to check on things." I knew she was lying. The bear felt wrong in my hands, too heavy for its size, and strangely warm, as if it had been clutched tightly by someone just moments before. "I found an article today," I said, watching their reactions carefully. "About a fire in this house. A little girl named Elizabeth died in my room." Eliza's face drained of color. Marcus stood abruptly, muttering something about needing a beer, and disappeared into the kitchen. "That was a long time ago," Eliza said finally. "It has nothing to do with us now. Doesn't it seem strange to you that your name is so similar to hers? Elizabeth, Eliza. It's a family name," she snapped. "My mother was Elizabeth, my grandmother was Elizabeth. It's not unusual." "And the scratching in the walls? The whispers? Are those usual too?" Eliza stood up, smoothing down her skirt with trembling hands. "I think you're working too hard, Mia. Graduate school can be stressful. Maybe you should talk to someone at the University Counseling Center." She left the room before I could respond, her footsteps quick and light on the stairs. That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time since moving in. I placed the bear on my dresser, facing away from my bed. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, though I couldn't explain why. Something about it felt important, like it was trying to tell me something. I sat at my desk, researching more about the house's history. I discovered that after the fire, the original owners had sold the property to Eliza's great-great-grandparents. They had renovated extensively, sealing up the fireplace in the nursery and adding the east wing. The house had remained in her family ever since. I must have fallen asleep at my desk, because the next thing I knew, I was waking with a start, my neck stiff and my laptop screen dark. The room was pitch black except for the faint moonlight filtering through the curtains. At 3:17 a.m., I remember the time precisely because my eyes flew open to stare at the glowing red numbers on my clock. I realized what had woken me. The bear was sitting on my chest, its remaining button eye gleaming in the moonlight that streamed through my window. I screamed, flinging it across the room. My door burst open seconds later, the lock somehow disengaged, with Eliza and Marcus rushing in. "What happened?" Eliza demanded, flipping on the light. I pointed to where I'd thrown the bear, but there was nothing there. Just empty floor. I saw, I stammered, but the words died in my throat as I caught sight of something behind them. A small face, peering around the doorframe. Pale, with hollow eyes and a smile that stretched too wide across its face. It vanished the instant I noticed it. "There's someone in the house," I whispered, clutching my blanket to my chest. We searched every room, every closet, under every bed. Nothing. No sign of an intruder, no unlocked doors or windows. The bear was nowhere to be found. "You were having a nightmare," Marcus said gently, sitting on the edge of my bed. "It happens to me too sometimes, sleep paralysis. You think you're awake but you're still dreaming." I wasn't dreaming, I insisted. And I locked my door. "How did you get in?" Eliza and Marcus exchanged another look. "It wasn't locked when we came in," Eliza said. "You must have thought you locked it." I wanted to believe them. But the scratching in the walls continued, growing louder each night. And now there were whispers too, childlike but somehow wrong, like someone trying to remember how children sound. "Play with me," they would say. "I'm so lonely. Won't you come into the walls with me?" Sometimes I'd wake to find small handprints on my mirror, gone by morning. Objects would move when I wasn't looking, my hairbrush, my keys, my phone. Once, I returned from the shower to find all my framed photos turned to face the wall. The worst was the smell. Sometimes, late at night, my room would fill with the acrid scent of smoke and burning wood. I'd check the house frantically, certain something was on fire, only to find everything normal. The smell would linger only in my room, and only for a few minutes before dissipating. I started sleeping on the couch in the living room, claiming my mattress was hurting my back. Neither Eliza nor Marcus questioned this, which only increased my suspicion that they knew more than they were telling me. One night, unable to sleep, I decided to explore the house. It was just past midnight, and both my roommates had retired to their rooms hours earlier. I moved silently through the darkened hallways, using my phone's flashlight to guide me. The house was different at night, the hallways seemed longer, the ceilings higher. Shadows pooled in corners where there shouldn't have been corners. I found myself in parts of the house I'd never seen before, rooms that seemed to exist only in the darkness. In the back of the house, behind the kitchen, I discovered a narrow door I hadn't noticed before. It was small, almost like a cupboard, with an old-fashioned iron latch instead of a doorknob. It wasn't locked. Beyond it lay a steep staircase leading down into darkness. The basement. I'd been told the house didn't have one. I descended slowly, each wooden step creaking beneath my weight. The air grew colder as I went deeper, carrying a musty scent of earth and decay. My phone's flashlight barely penetrated the thick darkness ahead. The basement was vast, much larger than the footprint of the house above should have allowed. Stone walls glistened with moisture, and the dirt floor was uneven beneath my feet. Support beams, blackened with age, stretched up to the ceiling like the ribs of some enormous beast. In the center of the room stood a stone structure that resembled an altar or a large fireplace. Its surface was stained dark, and symbols I didn't recognize had been carved into the stone. Around it, the dirt floor had been disturbed recently. Someone had been digging. As I approached, my light fell upon something half buried in the soil. I knelt down, brushing away the dirt with trembling fingers, and uncovered a small, yellowed bone. A child's finger bone. I recoiled, dropping my phone. It clattered to the ground, the light spinning wildly before settling on the far wall, where dozens of teddy bears sat in a neat row, each missing one eye, each stained with what I now realized was blood. "You shouldn't be down here, Mia." I whirled around to find Marcus standing at the foot of the stairs, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "What is this place?" I whispered, backing away from him. "What have you done?" "I haven't done anything," he said, his voice eerily calm. "I'm just the caretaker. Like my father before me, and his father before him." "Caretaker of what?" "The house. The children. The hunger." He took a step toward me. "Eliza's family built this house on sacred ground. They didn't know what they were doing at first. But then the walls started to speak, and they learned to listen." I continued backing away until I felt the cold stone of the altar against my spine. "The fire in 1898, the little girl who died. Elizabeth wasn't the first sacrifice," Marcus said. "But she was the one that awakened it fully. Her death gave it strength, gave it voice." "Sacrifice?" My voice was barely audible now. "The house needs to feed, Mia. Every 25 years, it requires new blood, new energy. Otherwise, it begins to consume those who live within its walls." I thought of the scratching, the whispers, the handprints. The children trapped inside the walls. "And you help it? You and Eliza?" "We serve it," he corrected. "As her family has for generations. As mine has. We find suitable vessels, young, sensitive, open to the voices. People like you, Mia." I lunged for my phone, but Marcus was faster. He grabbed my wrist, his grip like iron. "It's already chosen you," he said. "From the moment you walked through the door, it recognized something in you. A connection to the other side. The ability to hear its call. Let me go." I struggled against his grip, but he was much stronger than I'd realized. "It's an honor, really," he continued, as if I hadn't spoken. "Your essence will sustain it for years. And you'll join the others, never truly gone, never truly dead. Part of the house forever." From upstairs came the sound of footsteps, light, deliberate. "Eliza." "It's time," Marcus said, his eyes gleaming in the darkness. "The solstice is tonight. The veil between worlds is at its thinnest." I kicked out wildly, catching him in the knee. He grunted in pain, his grip loosening just enough for me to wrench free. I scrambled away, heading not for the stairs, where Eliza would surely be waiting, but deeper into the basement, into the darkness beyond the reach of my fallen phone's light. "You can't escape, Mia," Marcus called after me, his voice echoing off the stone walls. "The house knows every breath you take, every beat of your heart. It's already inside you." I felt my way along the wall, searching desperately for another exit. The basement seemed to go on forever, twisting and turning in ways that defied the laws of physics. I could hear Marcus behind me, unhurried, confident in my capture. My fingers found a seam in the wall, a crack just wide enough to slip through. Without hesitation, I squeezed into the opening, scraping my skin against the rough stone. The passage beyond was narrow, forcing me to turn sideways to progress. The scratching was all around me now, in the walls, the ceiling, the floor beneath my feet. And the whispers, so many whispers, children's voices overlapping in a cacophony of pleas and threats. "Stay with us. Don't leave us alone. She's coming for you. The hungry one is waiting." The passage opened suddenly into a small chamber, dimly lit by phosphorescent fungi growing along the walls. In the center stood a child, the same pale girl I'd glimpsed in my room, in my dreams. Her nightgown was stained with soot, her feet bare and dirty. She held the one-eyed teddy bear in her small hands. "Elizabeth?" I whispered. She shook her head slowly. "Elizabeth is gone. We're all gone. And soon, you'll be gone too." "Who are you?" "We are the food," she said, her voice a chorus of many. "We are the fuel. We keep the hungry one satisfied." "What is the hungry one?" The girl's face contorted, stretching impossibly wide until it was no longer a face at all but a gaping maw lined with teeth. "U.S." I screamed, turning to flee back the way I'd come, but the passage had vanished. Solid stone surrounded me on all sides. The girl, the thing wearing the girl's form, approached me slowly, the teddy bear clutched to its chest. "Don't be afraid," it said, its voice almost gentle now. "It doesn't hurt. Not for long. And then you'll be part of us. Never alone again." From somewhere beyond the chamber, I heard Eliza calling my name. "Mia? Where are you hiding? It's almost time." The thing that wasn't Elizabeth reached for my hand. Its skin was cold and dry, like paper left too long in the sun. "They're coming," it whispered. "The caretakers. They'll cut you open on the altar, feed your blood to the stones, your heart to the flames. But I can help you. I can make it painless." "Why would you help me?" I asked, pressing myself against the wall. "Because I remember being you," it said. "I remember being afraid. I remember fighting. It doesn't have to be that way." It held out the teddy bear to me. "Take him. He'll comfort you at the end." I stared at the bear, at its single button eye that seemed to plead with me. Something about it tugged at my memory, something I'd read in the library. "The fire in 1898, I said slowly. "The newspaper said it started near the curtains. But that's not what happened, is it?" The thing wearing Elizabeth's face tilted its head. "What do you mean?" "Elizabeth didn't die in a fire. She was sacrificed, just like the others. But something went wrong. The house, the hungry one, it got out of control." The creature hissed, its form flickering like a bad television signal. "You know nothing. I know that you're not Elizabeth. You're not any of the children who died here. You're the hungry one. The thing in the walls. And you're afraid." "Afraid?" It laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I am fear itself. I am the darkness between stars, the cold between heartbeats. What could I possibly fear?" "Being forgotten," I said. "Being starved. The sacrifices are getting harder to arrange, aren't they? The world is changing. People ask questions now when children go missing." The creature's form wavered, stretching and contracting. For a moment, I glimpsed something ancient and terrible behind the child's facade, something with too many eyes, too many mouths. "You think you're clever," it snarled. "But you're just meat. Food for the hunger." "Maybe," I admitted. "But I won't go easily. And I won't go alone." I lunged forward suddenly, grabbing the teddy bear from its hands. The creature shrieked, a sound that made my ears bleed and my vision blur. But I held tight to the bear, tearing at its seams with my fingers. Inside was not stuffing but something hard and metallic, a lighter, ancient and tarnished but still functional. I flicked it once, twice, and on the third try, a flame sprang to life. "No," the creature howled, its form dissolving into a writhing mass of shadows. "The fire. Not again." I touched the flame to the bear's matted fur, which caught immediately. Then I held the burning teddy bear high, advancing on the creature. "Fire purifies," I said, remembering a passage from one of my architecture textbooks about ancient building rituals. "Fire cleanses. Fire releases." The creature retreated, its many mouths gnashing in fury and fear. The walls of the chamber began to tremble, dust and small stones raining down from above. "Mia!" Eliza's voice was closer now, tinged with panic. "What have you done?" The burning bear in my hand grew hotter, the flame spreading to my fingers, my wrist, my arm. But I felt no pain, only a strange sense of power, of rightness. "I'm setting them free," I called back. "All of them." "Elizabeth. The boy from 1923. All the children you and your family sacrificed to feed this thing." The chamber walls cracked, revealing the true structure of the house, not wood and plaster but something organic, something alive. Veins pulsed within the walls, carrying not blood but the essence of trapped souls. The creature that had worn Elizabeth's face was gone now, dissolved into the shadows. But I could feel its rage, its hunger, all around me. Marcus and Eliza burst into the chamber, their faces contorted with fear and fury. "Stop this!" Eliza screamed. "You don't know what you're doing. If the hungry one isn't fed, it will consume everything, the house, the town, us." "Then maybe it should never have been awakened," I said, touching the burning bear to the nearest wall. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The wall ignited as if soaked in gasoline, the flames spreading in all directions at once. The veins within burst, releasing clouds of luminescent mist, the trapped souls of sacrificed children, finally free. Marcus lunged at me, but a section of burning ceiling collapsed between us. Eliza grabbed his arm, pulling him back toward the entrance that had reappeared. "We have to go," she shouted. "The binding is breaking. It's getting out." I could feel it too, the ancient presence that had been contained within the house for generations, now straining against its weakening prison. The hungry one, freed from its bonds but wounded by the fire, desperate and enraged. I should have run. I should have followed Eliza and Marcus out of the burning chamber, out of the basement, out of the house. But something held me there, a sense of responsibility, of duty. I had started this. I needed to finish it. The flames had spread to my entire body now, but still I felt no pain. I was becoming something else, something more than human. The fire was transforming me, just as it had transformed Elizabeth all those years ago. I understood now. The fire in 1898 hadn't been an accident. Elizabeth had fought back against her parents' betrayal, against the ritual they had planned. She had set herself ablaze rather than be sacrificed to the hungry one. But in doing so, she had become part of it, the first of many children trapped within its walls. I walked deeper into the inferno, to the heart of the chamber where the hungry one waited, wounded, weakened, but still terribly powerful. "I see you," I whispered. "I know what you are." It rose before me, shedding its many disguises to reveal its true form, a void, a nothingness that somehow had mass and substance. A hunger that could never be satisfied. "You cannot destroy me," it said, its voice the sound of all hope dying. "I am eternal. I am inevitable." "I don't want to destroy you," I replied. "I want to transform you." I stepped forward, into the void, the flames surrounding me leaping eagerly toward the darkness. Light and shadow, fire and emptiness, collided in a cataclysm that shook the foundations of the house. Above us, I could hear the house collapsing, beams cracking, walls falling, a century of evil architecture surrendering to purifying flame. Eliza and Marcus had escaped, I was certain. They were caretakers, not sacrifices. The house would not claim them. As for me, the transformation was painful beyond description, but also ecstatic. I was being unmade and remade, my essence merging with the hungry one, with Elizabeth and all the other children, with the house itself. In that moment of union, I understood everything. The hungry one had not been evil, not originally. It had been a guardian, a protector of the land. But the original builders of the house had bound it, corrupted it, twisted its purpose from protection to consumption. Now, with the binding broken and the corruption burned away, it could be healed. We could be healed. The fire raged through the night, consuming the Victorian house completely. By morning, nothing remained but smoldering ruins and a single stone chimney, standing like a monument among the ashes. Eliza and Marcus watched from across the street as firefighters sifted through the debris, searching for my body. They wouldn't find it, of course. I was no longer there. No longer anywhere, and everywhere at once. The hungry one was gone, transformed. And in its place was something new, something that remembered being human, remembered compassion and mercy. Something that would protect this land as it was always meant to be protected. Millfield would rebuild, as towns always do. Perhaps another house would stand on this spot someday. But it would be a happy house, a safe house. I would make sure of it. And if sometimes, late at night, new residents hear scratching in the walls or whispers in the dark, they need not be afraid. It's just me, checking in. Making sure all is well. Because that's what I do now. I watch. I wait. I protect. I am the watcher in the walls. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more terrifying tales that will keep you up at night. Your support helps me continue bringing these nightmares to life.